Okay, in this video, there's not really a homework problem that I like that I didn't assign. So I'm just going to do some general fun with arrays, with two-dimensional arrays, that is like some of the problems that we had. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a new class file. I do want the public static void main, and we're going to call this one fun with arrays. Doesn't like something. So well, it's asking me that of late, but that's what it wants. I guess I created a second one, so I wanted that one. Okay, so we have this fun with arrays file. So this should all be in the other video, but let's just review the basics of an array. Okay, so first, I'm going to want to let the user input items into the array. So I'm going to import the Java util scanner. Okay. And then in my main, I'm going to go ahead, since I'm going to add another function, I'm going to go ahead and mark this end main. And this is end of the class. I think some of you are getting confused on where all those go, so just to do it that way. And you don't have to, but I like my brackets. Sometimes I don't bother, but sometimes it just makes it easier for me to see what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. So inside of my public static void main, I have to go ahead and get a scanner object. So scanner input is equal to new scanner. And again, the new keyword is going to actually create the object. It's going to allocate the memory for it. Okay, I want to tie it into system in, which is going to be the keyboard input. Standard in is the keyboard. Okay. So once I have that, next thing I want to do, I want to declare an array, let's say of 5 ints. It could be doubles, it could be whatever you want. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to start with the type. So it's a type int. It's going to have the square brackets. The square brackets are going to let the system know this is going to be an array. Okay, I'm going to call this array1, and it's going to be equal to a new integer int array square brackets with a size of 5. Okay. So I now have an array called array1. It's an array of integers, and it can hold up to 5. And again, the valid subscripts are 0 through 4. Okay. So now I want to create a loop. I have to hit the right double letter. Loop to input items into array 1. Okay. So whenever we're dealing with a loop for an array, you want to iterate through each element of the array. It's going to be the same thing. So int, I'm going to use C for counter. You can use whatever variable you want, but always use the same one. There's no reason to vary. You don't think about it. Okay. As long as C is less than array1.length. Okay, length. Okay, so again, length is not a function. I think in some languages, I think in Python, maybe you have to put brackets around it. But length is going to be a member data of this array. Okay, so it knows its own length. Okay. C++. Why does it like that? Oh, it seems okay now. Okay. Okay. So I've now got where I'm going to go through from C0. C is going to go from 0 up to, there's a less than, not less than or equal to. So array1.length is equal to 5. You can just put a 5, but this is more generic. It'll work in more cases. Okay, so as long as it's less than 5, so when it gets to 4, it's going to go. When it gets to 5, it's going to stop. Okay, so it's going to give me the 0 to 5 that I want. Okay, so then I'm going to have system.out.print. Okay, it's going to be my prompt. The prompt is going to be enter an integer. And it's not the greatest form that we're going to ask that a bunch of times, but we are. Okay. And then I can directly put into my array1 at position C. So the first time it'll be array1 from sub-0 all the way to sub-4 is going to be equal to my input scanner dot next int. which is a method. Okay. Wants to put those in the wrong spot. Don't know why. Okay, so that's going to go through and allow us, it wants me to do this input.close. I'm going to do this. Okay, so we'll complain about that. Okay, so this is going to go through and allow the array to be entered, input every time. Okay, so let's go ahead and print that out. Just print array 1. Okay. Again, I'm all still in the main. Okay, we're going to add a method here in a minute. It's not in the main, but right now we are. So I can literally copy and paste this. It's going to be the same. The guts of the loop will be different, but might as well keep the rest the same. Okay. 22, line 22 is exactly the same. 23 is just doing that. And this time, though, we're just going to do a system.printout. And what we're going to print is going to be, oh, sorry, the array1.c. But I'm going to do a print line instead. Okay, and that's all it needs. Okay, well, needs one more bracket. Okay, so the first loop, first I declare my array to be an int of size 5. I'm then going to go through 5 times, ask for an integer. Then I'm going to go through and print all those out. Okay, let's run this, see if it works. Enter an integer. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do whatever I want. And you see it prints out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple enough. Okay, so remember the other way that we can enter an array. So I'm going to directly load array 2 with values. Okay, so I can say this time, I can say int array 2 is equal to, not a size, not a new. I'm just going to go ahead and put in the numbers. Okay, so let's say I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say. Okay, so I'm specifying directly what the values are going to be. Okay, so the length of that is going to be 8. Okay, but I didn't have to tell it that. I do the whole thing. Okay, and I can't add any more elements. I can't add an array 2 sub 8. That wouldn't work. It's going to be from 0 to 7, like before. Okay, so now I can print this one out. Okay, so we're going to print array 2. Okay, I think I can paste that in. It's already there before. It's going to look exactly the same. I actually noticed that, so let me actually copy the right thing. Copy the print. I could have changed it, but why do that if you don't have to? Okay, this is going to be array 2. Note the length is different here. We have a length of 8 instead of 5, but it still works. Okay, it's going to know that length. Every object knows its own length, and an array is an object. Okay, that's going to print that out. So let's see. Let's run this. Integers 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, which prints all the 4s, and now it's going to print the 1 through 8, which I hard coded into here. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is adding methods. I know it's weird in the book, and the book goes some chapters where we're creating classes, and then some chapters and some problems we're creating applications, and the applications are classes too, but they're kind of different. Okay, so in this case, what I'm creating here is not a class that we're going to run. It's an application. It's still a class, but it's a different setup, and I've talked about that in other videos before. Okay, so let's say I want to take a method here. I want to create a method that's going to take an integer array as its input, and then it's going to do something with it. Okay, so I need to put that function not in int main, but outside of int main, between int main, between the end of main, which is why I put the comment in there, and the end of the class. Okay, so, and I think you could do this before main if you wanted. I think someone did that in one of the homework problems. I just find it weird. I want int main to be on top, but either way, you don't have to have one before the other. Like in C++, you have to have one function defined before you use it. That's not the case here. Okay, so this is going to be a public. We want everyone to be able to get to it. it's going to be a static. Again, the book talks a lot about the static. It's the idea that we're not going to create a fun with arrays object. Okay, we're just going to be running just the program. So this function belongs to the class, not to the instances of the class, because it won't be any of those. Okay. Public static, this is going to be a void function. It's not going to return anything. Okay, and it's going to take something, doesn't matter, we can call it A for array. Okay, but I have to let it know that it's an integer and that it's an array with the brackets. Okay, so I have my public static void int A. What does it look like? Public static void. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. No. That. I'll get it right eventually. The parameter is an int A. There we go. Now it should be happy. It's still not happy. Maybe it'll be happy in a minute. Public static void. Oh, I didn't give it a name. You have to give it a name. Let's call this one double array. Okay, now it's happy. So the method I'm creating is going to be called double array. I can run it from main. It's going to take as its parameter an array of integers. And it's going to print out the double of each one. Okay. So I can go through and I should be able to, I see I still got that pasted. Okay. So this is going to be the same, except it's just going to be A here. Whatever the length of the function we send it, and it's just going to be A down here. But we want to print out 2 times that. That's all we're going to do. Okay. I could go through if I wanted and go one by one. In fact, we can do that. Let's go ahead and let's say that I want to first change those values. Okay, so I'm just going to say that A sub C is equal to 2 times A sub C. Okay, that's going to go through and make all those changes. And then, of course, I could then do the same deal, except print out. So do a system.out.print line. Okay, that should print out those new values. Okay. And you probably want to put something up here. Or here is your array doubled. Whatever you want to say. This is just a made-up program, but you get the idea. Okay. And then I need the semicolon at the end. So again, down here, we're sending integer. We haven't called it yet, so we can run this. It'll never happen. It's just like it was before. Enter whatever there. It's going to print it out, print out the others. Okay. And I probably should have put an error message, or not an error message, a print message before these 2, just to see, but I didn't. Okay. So to do this, I'm going to have to actually call this. Okay. So I'm going to have to call double array on whichever array I want. So let's do array 2. Okay. So again, it goes through, sets up the scanner, it declares an array that doesn't have anything in it. It then goes through and asks the user for all the values of the array, prints it out in a for loop. It's then going to directly load array 2, going to print it out through a for loop. It's then going to send array 2, which has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, down to this double array function, which does have the correct parameter. It takes an integer array. It's then going to go through and print out, here's your doubled array. Let's go ahead and put a \n in there. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay. And then it's going to go through and double each of the values. and it's then going to print out those values, okay? Note that everything in Java gets passed by value, which means we're not making any changes. So array1 is not changed by this transaction, okay? Even though A, which is just array1 being dumped in, is going to get all of its values double. It's not going to matter at all. It's not going to affect array2, okay? In fact, I can go ahead and print array2 again, just so we can check. New line character in there. Okay, so now we run this, see what we get. I'm going to enter my numbers. Okay, so notice that it prints the 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. This is from my array2, 1 through 8. Here is the array doubled. Oh, this is interesting. It did make a change. I wonder if that's a version issue. That is quite interesting. It's not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to make any changes to that. Yeah, that's weird. Make sure. Oh, what am I doing? Am I doing it correctly? Let's see. Printing out again. Yeah, it is making changes, which is very strange. Not sure about that. So I'll take a look at that because that is not the behavior that the book led me to believe it was going to do. But otherwise, you get the idea how to create our arrays. Sorry, my dog's going crazy. Of creating the arrays, sending the array to a function, all that stuff. Okay. So it's Thursday. We're going to meet tonight, and we can talk about all these issues, and I can talk about why that actually made changes. So anyway, I will see you tonight if you have any questions.